So very warm welcome back, everyone. Let me share my screen and we'll get started, okay? So our today's objective in the class is sorting and filtering. And really, these are some of the things that you will do regardless of your project. If it's in React or any other framework, or if you're making a Node.js project, the same concepts carry over to other programming languages as well, like Python or Java. If you're learning something else, these are concepts you will encounter early and always and early, especially in your project. Uh, Trust me, you're going to see a lot of this always because sorting and filtering are really operations on a data, not on a in the background. They are not tied to any specific project or anything. Uh, you could be seeing your, let's say, for example, credit card bills. You can filter them, and that is on a mobile app. So it has nothing to do. So let's look at what sorting means, and then we'll look in through the pure JavaScript, pure JavaScript point of view. Okay, so um, let's say we have a nums array like this: 3, 5, 3, 5, 4, 2. So let me mix this up a little bit. So we have array which has no order about it, where our data, in this case, our data is the numbers we see on the screen: 3, 5, 1, 4, 2. There is no order to them, and I wanted all the numbers which are bigger than 2. So I can say numbers.filter, and then you have to specify. So if you see this, what is our requirement in plain English? The plain English requirement says I need all the numbers which are greater than 2. So nums filter, and then we receive each individual num. So now this is a loop, like a for loop that is running on all numbers, and I am going to write a function which returns return which is greater than 2. Now, if you see, I got 3, 5, 4. So 1 and 2 are dropped. What I created here was a function that we passed to our filter function. So simply put, the most easiest way to write this is drop this curly braces. You might have seen this pattern always. If this a simple return is needed, then you just drop the curly braces, and you can even drop this num if you like. So it's a very simplified form of how you can filter numbers in JavaScript. Now filtering and sorting, and then we have often seen in our codes map function as well, where we have mapped on certain list, and we created uh, in like in our books example, we said map book dot name, So we have seen this pattern. So sort, then map, then the filter just we saw, and then this for each as well. All of these are operations on collections, and the collections are universal patterns in almost all of the programming languages. So once you understand for one, you can continue to apply this in more complex manner in other uh, other places. So moving on, the second topic, second thing that we needed to do, we did a filter here. So we did a filter like this. And now I get 354. Very similarly, we can do nums dot just sort. So there's no, if you don't want to do anything special, and if you want to sort your numbers in ascending order, then you can just do sort. And now I see all my numbers, which are which are bigger than, sorry, sorted in the ascending order. There is no direct way to do descending order, but very similar to filter function, sort function also can take a function itself, which tells how to sort the details. So when I say I want, if B is bigger than A, then I want B to be coming before A in the array, then all I have to simply do is say B minus A. So imagine these two numbers being passed together here, 1 and 2. What I'm saying is if 2 is bigger than 1, then I want 2 to be printed before 1. Okay. Sorry, reverse. So if I want B to come before A, then I have to pass A minus B. So I'm telling that whichever of these two is bigger should come first. Very similarly, A minus B minus A is simply like sort, which is to in plain English saying whichever is smaller should come first. So this is sorting on the numbers. Now let's look at, even though this class doesn't require us to look at map, but it's very important and very easy to understand what map does again, because we have till now used map in React to iterate over elements and create new elements. So very similarly, we can say const square nums. Let's create a new array, which will be nums dot map, and then each number. So each number you can denote by a, or you can call it num. And then I want to return for each number num star num. Essentially a square of that number. And now let's see where nums is now each numbers in a square. So this is our nums at the last moment. And now 5 square is 25, 4 square is 16, 3 square is 9, and so on and so forth. So what we just saw was three critical functions: filter, sort, and map. And we have seen this map over and over in our code. Instead of squaring the numbers, we were just creating our list elements to display things repeatedly in our code. Let me pause here because these three are very important. These three collection functions: map, sort, and filter. So before we even talk about React, we have to understand this from JavaScript point of view. So any questions? We'll pause for a few seconds. And if no questions, we'll move on. The next two functions for collections, and especially one of them is applicable to array, can be very handy to us is uh, if what if I want to just print each number in the array. So let's for that we can say nums dot for each. Now this function will use each num and optionally you can also get the index of this number. So two parameters you can receive and you can say console.log current number is num at index. So I am using the current elements without modifying them in something, Mistake. Yes, I made a mistake. So its current number is 5 at index 0, 4 at index 0. And for each operation, doesn't modify the current array. But you can use for each to do some operations on each element. Very similarly, we have something called index of. So if I want to check if the value exists in num, then what is the index? So I want to know index of 3. Then I get 2. What if I give 30? I get -1. So index of returns a -1 to indicate that something is not present in the uh, in the in the array. So these are operations that we can do on array and collections. Index of, for each, map, sort, uh, filter. So till now we have been playing with just numbers. Let me copy some data I need to explain it on objects. So imagine we have got uh, this many movies as an object, okay? Let's see if this will work. So we have so many movies as an object in our movies variable, and each movie has an ID, title, uh, so on and so forth. And I want to find all the movies which were made after, let's say, year 2008. Right now we see Gladiator, which is before 2008, then Matrix before 2008. So I want to find movies which come after 2008. So going back to our collection methods that we applied on array to get numbers which were greater than 2, very similarly, we can apply the same logic here. So we can do number movies.filter, and then I will retrieve each movie. And for each movie, I want movie dot year greater than 2008. And now if I see my output after filtering, I see inceptions, but I don't see gladiator or metrics or anything like that. Very similarly, we can apply. If I want to sort movie by uh, year they were released, then I can say movie or AB. So it's better to remember the AB in case of sorting. And I want the lower number to come before. Uh, Previously, we did B minus A to do AB. But now our A and B are not pure numbers, but they are objects. So we can do B dot year. Now B dot year means, let's say if we were looking at avatar, that means B dot year is 2009. We can say A dot year. And now we have movies which are coming, which were released at latest to earliest. So what I mean to say is we can apply filtering and sorting not just on numbers, but on the objects as well. Let's say you wanted a movie which has genre as action. Then what you can do is movie dot filter. Till now we have been playing with numbers, but action is not a number now, it's a string. So we can still apply a movie, same logic, movie, and instead of greater than or equal, greater than or less than, we can say movie dot genre equal to action. Equal to equal to. And now we get just the movies which were action. This is how we can operate not just on string, but not just on numbers, but uh, on the strings as well. So we have seen now applying our collection method on an array, on numbers, on an object most importantly, and on strings. I'll pause here for a few seconds for you guys to think over what we just did, and then ask any questions we have. Because as I was saying, this is more to do with JavaScript than React itself. I, I ask your question is.
Oh, I just had a quick question. So I was just looking over our reading portion of the CTD learns, and I didn't quite understand because they were saying when sorting an array, we have two methods available to help us sort period to sorted and dot sort. And they go, we choose period to sorted because it returns a new array. But you were just showing that it can still return a new array with just dot sort. And that's, I think, what we were taught the dot sort in the introduction to JavaScript
Yeah,
or the Luna class. So I just didn't understand what they were talking
yeah,
about. That's all.
I would suggest to stick with one method that you know the best. That's why sort is universally now, uh, really universally now. Let's go period to sort because
Yep, it's
I
just in
doubt if
that second paragraph right above the blue, down to the next paragraph at the very bottom sentence, the last sentence. Or sorry, second to last sentence.
yeah, to sort it. I mean, there are different ways to sort, but I typically like to use the sort because it modifies your existing database, your uh, existing array, but it doesn't return anything. So the return type of sort is undefined, but toSorted returns a new array, which can be beneficial in terms of React. Uh,
Oh, okay.
in terms of React, because when you try to update something, you want to assign a value to something so that React can re-render itself. So that's just a quirk of React, but uh, if you still prefer, you can do it with the sort as well. So we'll look at the code that we have and which would make sense.
Thank you.
Because what we don't want to do is modify our original movies so that we can always go back to the uh, really in the real world, right? I would not use to sort it when the coursework says, simply because I don't want to. There's something, a concept called mutation. Didn't want to talk about it so early. Mutation and mutations you don't want to do on your original original state variables or something that's holding. So yeah, I mean, it will achieve the objective in any case, and you can practice in using both of them. You will have a very sort of a way to do it with sort, and you can look at the learning material which has the toSorted as well. So let's look at the project that we want to make. With all that we have talked today, this project, now understanding this project should be easier. So we have a movie library just like we had book libraries, and we display all the movies in table below. And we can then have a filter of sorting. But before sorting, let's look at the filtering, okay? So we sorted the values by greater than year, but we can always sort it by a range as well, so two values. So our projects allow sorting by a range and also by rating. The rating is again a number. And then we can also filter our values by three genres we have, let's say action or sci-fi. Uh, any confusions in the project itself before I explain the code? It's a straightforward. You can sort by title or year or dating, etc. So this follows the pattern that we have done in the past, where we have certain input boxes and then we capture the value from input boxes and update our state variables. So let's say if I wanted to set avatar, then search input box, we'll have a state variable with search, and we are going to use that search in some way to manipulate our array. So let's look at how does that work, right? So here I passed action as a string directly here. But what if I had a variable, another variable called action filter, and that was set to action? Then what I can do is, instead of passing the action, I can say action filter, and it still gives me the same. But the beauty of this is now I can say, what was that word? Comedy. Let's listen, comedy. And now I can still run the same function and I get all the comedy genre movies. We use the same principle here. We have a whole bunch of input boxes which are tied to state fields. and select boxes which are tied to different values, and they have their default value as well. For example, search text is empty, but when we initialize our React component, we want to sort the movies by title. And that's why when we sort by title, title is a alpha alphabet alphabet driven string. So it goes from A to Z in the in that order. So then if there was a movie with Z, it would come at the bottom. And then we have all the selections like genre. Genre can have action or all, or and then we have two variables to capture our mean and uh, year range, mean and max. So this simply is now we use all of this values to do a grand scale sorting. So if user selects, we while till now we have just considered when we did this kind of sorting, we just allowed the capability to sort on just one thing, genre. But now here we have filtering on genre. Now we can have multiple things. So we use our uh, genre, then uh, search takes, then movie rating, movie year. So each movie that we get will be compared across all the selections the user has done here. Instead of just, let's say, genre or year, we will compare that movie's attributes. So our movie, let me copy one movie here. Our movie has uh, attributes like title, year, genre. We use each of that attribute. So for example, title here, then genre here. Should order them in the order that it appears in the code. I'll do that after we disconnect. Year. So we are using all of the attributes from movie to finally apply a filter. So whenever we return false from any of the return statements, that movie will be excluded from the list. So if I did the movie that was 2000 year in 2008 and above, then any movie that is before 2008 will be excluded. So the matrix is excluded. So when the matrix code would have run, this line 48 would have rejected and returned the false, and that would have prevented the matrix from showing here. So this is filtering on the large scale or uh, large scale. Very simply, we can do sorting as well on large scale. So how do we, till now we have been sorting just on year or rating. And let me copy our this thing here as well so you guys can follow the data. The sort, yeah, we can now sort on each attribute. So that allows us to sort of have this function now. If we have a rate sort by rating and a direction, then we see the lowest rating movie first and then the highest rated movie later. And similarly, if we sorted by priority, must watch, recommended, or skip, we can hit the priority block as well. So here we are using the priority to sort on priority. So both filtering and sorting can accept multiple parameters based on how you structure your inner function. So this is the inner function that we have been writing. But in our abstract cases, we have been just saying, hey, give me a movie which is equal title is equal to rating or year greater than 8. But you can make that inner function as complex as possible. The only logic is in a sorting function, you have to return, in a sort, you have to return something like a minus b, which is a number. Whereas in the filtering function, we have to return a boolean, true or false. And if you logically think about this, filtering means to either have something or to not have something. That means either I have a webcam on or I don't have a webcam on. There are no other levels to this. So that's a filtering. Whereas sorting is like a range. My voice can be louder, to quieter, to inaudible, like this. So this is a range. So that is sorting. That's why sorting returns a number, whereas uh, filtering returns a boolean. So yeah, that is the topic we want to cover today. And if you get the JavaScript part of this, you will easily understand this code. And that's where I'll stop.